The family of Chuck Norris saying that the Walker, Texas Ranger star has died at the age of 86. Carly Shimkus joins us now here in New York for more on the life of an American legend.
Man, oh man, American legend. Let's repeat that one. And we woke up to news yesterday that Chuck Norris was hospitalized in Hawaii. TMZ reported this happened on the island of Kauai.
Even death itself is afraid of Chuck Norris started as a joke. But now it feels like a dark curse. The man people called immortal is gone at 86, and Hollywood is shook, but something feels off. Sylvester Stallone, one of the few who truly knew him, stayed silent. No tribute, nothing.
A friend of his said that they were talking on the phone. He was in good spirits, he was cracking jokes, and he just celebrated a birthday earlier this month. And I was looking at his social media, and he noted his birthday by sparring with his trainer.
Of course.
I mean, as one does when you're Chuck Norris, and his caption was, "I don't age, I level up," kind of leaning into that internet meme.
Why? Did he hear something nobody else did? When he finally spoke at 79, it wasn't just goodbye. It was Chuck Norris's final words. Words never meant for the public, heavy enough to keep him quiet for years. Before the legend, he was Carlos Ray Norris, a poor kid from Oklahoma, bullied, struggling, no stability. Life hit hard early, but in 1958, he joined the Air Force, and everything started to change.
You know, the things that we say about him, Chuck Norris and the jokes and all that, but his career went far beyond movies and the public persona that he had. He joined the Air Force as an air policeman in 1958. And that's where he started training in martial arts. He was stationed in South Korea. And then after he retired from the military, he wanted to become a police officer. So he applied in California and opened a martial arts studio.
Like, subscribe, share, and drop a comment. Stationed in South Korea at Osan Air Base, everything shifted from one small move. He walked into a martial arts class. At first, it was just to kill time, but Tang Soo-do pulled him in fast. He trained nonstop, not because he was gifted, but because for the first time, he felt control. After leaving the military in 1962, he opened schools in California, but he didn't just teach, he stepped into the ring. At first, he lost to big names like Joe Louis and Alan Steen, but he flipped the script and refused to lose again. By 1968, he became world champion and held it for 6 straight years, unstoppable.
You're exactly right about 6-time undefeated karate champion.
Yep.
He was good at what he did, and I was just reading, he taught a lot of actors and actresses how to do this.
Yes.
And so they could use it for themselves and also in film.
Exactly, because he had that unique ability of knowing how to do it on camera and then really know how to do it. So who would you want more than somebody like him to teach you how to throw some jabs and punches?
Yeah.
Even stars like Steve McQueen trained with him. And then McQueen said something that changed everything. "You should try acting." That one line in 1972 changed everything. Chuck Norris hit the screen in Way of the Dragon, facing Bruce Lee in that legendary Coliseum fight. No wires, no tricks, just raw combat. Bruce Lee was fast and sharp, but Chuck brought power and real danger. Even in defeat, people couldn't forget him. Hollywood definitely didn't. By the 80s, he was everywhere.
As they say, the heart of the family. He had 5 children. And of course, Walker, Texas Ranger was his main role that I think most people know about him in the movie world, but martial arts. I mean, he was a black belt in like 7 different types of martial art. Taekwondo, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, karate. What a career, what a guy. And there he is, a friend of Fox.
And he just seemed ageless.
Yeah, he did. And, you know, I mentioned Walker, Texas Ranger, but he did a bunch of different things.
Missing in action made him a war hero on screen. Then Walker, Texas Ranger turned him into justice itself. Strong, fair, unstoppable. But the real twist? The internet turned him into a myth. Chuck Norris doesn't turn on the lights. He makes darkness retreat. Time waits for Chuck Norris. He wasn't just a man anymore. He became something bigger. A man people believed could never die. Gone at 86. When the news dropped, it didn't feel real. It hit like a shockwave. For the first time, people had to face it. Chuck Norris was human after all. And that question hit hard. If even he can go, what in this world is truly untouchable? On March 19, 2026, it became official. No rumors, no fake posts. His family confirmed it.
About himself.
What did the family have to say?
All sad today. Well, they released a beautiful and lengthy statement, and we have it here, if we could pull it up. They say, "It is with heavy hearts that our family share the sudden passing of our beloved Chuck Norris yesterday morning. While we would like to keep the circumstances private, please know that he was surrounded."
A short message, simple and cold. He passed peacefully, surrounded by family. No cause revealed, no deep details, just silence. Reports say he was hospitalized in Hawaii after a medical emergency, then gone.
By his family and was at peace. To the world, he was a martial artist, actor, and a symbol of strength. To us, he was a devoted husband, a loving father and grandfather, an incredible brother, and the heart of our family. He lived his life with faith, purpose, and unwavering commitment to the people he loved. Through his work, discipline, and kindness, he inspired millions around the world and left a lasting impact on so many lives.
What made it even crazier? Days before, he looked fine, celebrating his birthday and saying something unforgettable. "I don't age, I level up." That's what he said, and then just days later, he was gone. That gap left millions confused, trying to process something that didn't make sense. The reaction was instant and massive. Fans, celebrities, even world leaders spoke out. The U.S. president called him strong and great. Texas leaders said a legend was lost, and people across the world called him a cultural icon. In Texas, fans created memorials, flowers, candles, quiet streets turning emotional. Online, clips flooded everywhere. Roundhouse kicks, Bruce Lee fight scenes. But this time, nobody was laughing at the jokes. Hollywood went silent. Stallone, Schwarzenegger, Van Damme, all paid respect. No rivalry, no hype, just one truth. He's gone.
He's an American icon, a great patriot.
Here's a quote for you, Carly. I've seen a lot of anti-hero movies in which the lead was neither good nor bad. There was no one to root for. Right? So he takes that and he says, "You can cheer for me."
That's exactly it. And we did. And he is just somebody who, when you think about him and what he brought to the camera and the acting roles, I mean, you think about an American icon, you think of Chuck Norris.
So he was a Christian, he was a conservative, and we celebrate his life today.
And now, one question keeps growing louder. Who really understood Chuck Norris? The fighter, the movie star, the internet legend, or the man behind it all? Because his family didn't talk about fame at all. They called him a husband, a father, the heart of their family. Maybe that was. The real side no one truly saw. Now, as the world tries to figure him out one last time, one man stands out, Sylvester Stallone. Not a rival, not an enemy, something deeper. While others competed loudly, these two moved differently. Stallone rose from struggle, writing Rocky to survive. Norris came from real fights, real victories, stepping into Hollywood already proven. No need for rivalry, just respect. If Stallone fought fate, Chuck Norris was the man fate didn't even test. Norris wasn't just playing a role, he was the role. Rocky gets knocked down and rises again. Rambo gets hurt and fights back. But Chuck Norris, he was never down to begin with. That's the difference. That's why there was no rivalry. They weren't even in the same lane. Stallone showed emotion and struggle, while Norris stood for control and raw strength. Two different forces, but they matched perfectly with real respect. Stallone respected him not just as a star, but as the real deal. And Norris never chased attention, never tried to outshine. Rare for that era. Then came 2012, The Expendables 2, the moment fans waited decades for. But Norris had one strict rule: no profanity at all. That one condition said everything about who he was. Stallone agreed, no hesitation. Because if you bring Chuck Norris in, you let him be Chuck Norris. When he appeared as Booker, chaos flipped instantly. Ammo gone, enemies everywhere. Then suddenly they start dropping one by one. Nobody sees him, but he's there. No loud music, no warning, just smoke. And then he steps out. Chuck Norris, calm, no rush, no effort. And instantly everything changes. That wasn't just a scene, it was a message. When he shows up, it's already over. The real peak, that line, "He was once bitten by a cobra, and the snake died." A global meme brought to life, but this wasn't just a joke. Stallone put it in as respect, and Norris delivered it himself. The crowd laughed, but it was respect, not humor. Nobody else could pull that off. They weren't best friends or rivals, just two legends who understood each other without words. Now he's gone. And the question hits hard. Can anyone ever replace that era? When Chuck Norris passed, the world reacted instantly. Politicians, actors, fighters, fans, everyone had something to say. Some shared memories, others called him a legend, praising his discipline, faith, strength, and quiet confidence. But Stallone's response felt different. Yes, he spoke. He called Norris all-American in every way. Media even listed him among the stars who paid tribute. But here's what stood out. It was short, too short. For someone from the same era, same level, same legacy, it felt unusually quiet. And that's where things get strange. Because to Stallone, Norris wasn't just another name. He was part of the same powerful era. Men who didn't need to explain themselves, didn't chase attention, and proved everything. Through action. Stallone rose from poverty and failure to become Rocky and Rambo, pure symbols of grit and willpower. Norris took a different path, from real fighting to global fame. Different journeys, same energy, strong, silent, unshaken. Norris wasn't just a movie star. He was a real undefeated champion before Way of the Dragon, Missing in Action, and Walker, Texas Ranger. That kind of background made him different. So when Norris passed, for Stallone it wasn't just losing a colleague, it was losing part of the world that built him. His message, all-American in every way, sounds simple, but it hits deep. It describes strength, discipline, loyalty, everything Norris stood for. And maybe the silence says even more. Some men don't speak louder when it hurts. They go quiet. When someone who truly understands Chuck Norris only says a few words, people start asking questions. Because sometimes what's not said hits even harder. Think about The Expendables 2, a film packed with legends. And even there, Chuck Norris stood above the rest. His presence alone changed everything. That moment wasn't just action, it felt like the final chapter of an entire era. And Stallone knows that better than anyone. This isn't just one man passing. It's a whole era closing its doors. So yes, the silence feels strange, but it's not careless. It's the silence of someone who understands the loss too deeply to explain. Because sometimes a few quiet words carry more weight than 1,000 loud ones. Maybe the mystery isn't that Stallone is hiding something. Maybe there was just nothing left to say. Because how do you sum up someone like Chuck Norris in words? Sometimes silence is the heaviest goodbye of all. But then come the final words. And that's where it gets chilling. Just days before he passed, Norris appeared in a video. No weakness, no warning, standing strong at 86. And he said one simple line, "I don't age, I level up." At first, it sounded classic, confident, exactly what you'd expect. But after his passing, that line feels different, almost haunting. It wasn't about denying age, it was his mindset. He didn't see life as fading, he saw it as rising to another level. Time, to Chuck Norris, wasn't something that weakens you. It sharpens you, builds you, levels you up. In that mindset, death isn't the end. It's just another step forward. That's why he never played weak roles. Not because he couldn't, but because he never saw himself that way. Fighting wasn't survival for him, it was who he was. But behind that unstoppable image was a real life, complex, emotional, and human. His first marriage to Diane Holchick started young, back in high school. Simple, real, before fame changed everything. They built a family, had 2 sons, and for a while, he lived a traditional life. But as his career exploded, pressure grew, and a gap formed between Chuck Norris, the icon, and the man behind it. After nearly 30 years together, the marriage ended in 1989. No drama, no headlines, just quiet separation. And that silence says everything. It wasn't hate, it was something that simply couldn't hold anymore. There's also a lesser-known part of his life. He had a daughter from a past relationship, but what matters is how he handled it. Years later, he faced it head-on, took responsibility, and rebuilt that bond. No excuses, no denial. Then in 1998, everything changed. He married Gina O'Kelly, and this time it was different. Calm, steady, real. They had twins, and he started stepping away from fame, focusing on family. And then came the moment that truly defined him. Not in movies, but in real life. When his wife faced serious health complications after an MRI. When his wife's condition turned critical, Chuck Norris made a move few stars would ever make. He walked away from Hollywood, not for a break, almost completely. No cameras, no spotlight, just him, standing by his family, fighting a real battle. And that moment revealed everything. Fame didn't define him. Family, faith, and responsibility did. He even said success means nothing if you can't protect the people you love. That's why he quietly stepped away. No drama, no comeback, no chasing attention. People saw an unstoppable icon, but his real story, a man who made mistakes, lost, learned, and chose family over fame. That's what made him different. So think about it. If you had his strength, would you fight the world or protect your own? He wasn't just an actor and not just a martial artist. Chuck Norris was a full cultural icon. Martial arts, movies, even the internet. This wasn't someone pretending to fight. He was the real deal. A true karate champion who dominated for years, not by luck, but through pure discipline. But his real power? Influence. Millions didn't just watch him, they started training because of him. Not to become stars, but to become stronger in body and mind. He didn't just teach fighting, he inspired control, focus, and resilience. Back then, no flashy effects were needed. One look, one move, and it was over. From Way of the Dragon to Walker, Texas Ranger, he didn't follow the genre. He changed it. Today, his style might look simple, but that's exactly why it hits so hard. It connects to something basic in people, the belief in justice. Very few stars survive generations, but Chuck Norris did more than that. He came back stronger in the internet era. Chuck Norris doesn't sleep, he waits. Death once met Chuck Norris and asked for time off. What started as jokes turned into global culture. And the wild part, he didn't fight it. He embraced it, even stepping into the Expendables 2 and delivering the joke himself. That's how a legend becomes untouchable. Because when someone like Chuck Norris is gone, it's not just loss, it's something bigger. Legends don't disappear. They just change form. And Stallone's quiet words, all American in every way, say more than any long speech ever could. That wasn't just a compliment, it was a statement. Chuck Norris wasn't just an actor, he was a standard, a symbol, a whole era people looked up to. What's left now isn't sadness, it's respect. Respect that we lived in his time, that we saw a man who didn't just act strong, he lived it. So maybe the real focus isn't how he died, but how he lived. Legends don't die. They become stories that never fade. What do you remember most about Chuck Norris? Like, subscribe, share, and drop your comment below.